You ever seen a storm coming from miles away, but nobody believed you? You kept your mouth shut, didn't say a word, just stood there, watching, waiting. That's what the quiet ones do. They don't bark, they don't beg, they don't whine about the pain or scream about the betrayal. They just sit in silence, collecting every damn detail, every fake smile, every cheap apology, every time someone thought you were too soft, too weak, too lost to ever rise. And you, yeah, I know you. You're the one they underestimated. They called you slow, passive, invisible even. But see, the ones who don't scream when they're hurt, those are the ones you gotta fear. 'Cause they ain't just hurt, they're recording. They're memorizing the damage. Quiet people, they're not broken, they're building, brick by brick. And when they come back, they don't knock, they kick the damn door in. You think you're not enough 'cause they said so? You think your silence makes you small? Nah, your silence is your weapon. You observe, you learn. While they run their mouths, you're building your empire in the shadows. They laugh now, 'cause they can't hear what you're thinking. But you hear everything. Every word they said behind your back. Every time they left you out, made you feel like you didn't belong. And you swallowed it all, didn't you? Sat there and smiled while your chest was burning. But here's the twist, kid. That pain, it's not useless. It's data. Every betrayal, every rejection, every fake friend, you store it. Because one day, when the tables turn, and they will, you won't need to talk. You'll show them. People got it twisted. They think being quiet means being weak. They think you're not a threat because you don't flex, don't fight, don't speak up. But let me tell you something. Lions, they don't roar when they stalk. Assassins, they don't announce themselves. You ever seen a volcano scream before it erupts? It's just quiet until it buries everything in its path. That's you. That's who you really are. You ain't broken. You're dormant. You ain't lost. You're planning. And when you move, when you finally move, the world's gonna feel it. And don't you dare tell me you're tired. Don't you say you've had enough. I know what it's like to be exhausted, to wake up and feel like the weight of the world sitting on your chest. But the difference is this. The weak ones stay down. The quiet ones, they rest in rage. They use the silence to recharge the pain into power. You ain't supposed to be loud right now. You're supposed to build in silence, in patience, in pain. That's how storms grow. That's how beasts wake up. That's how ghosts come back. So yeah, watch closely. The quiet ones, they don't shout. They don't beg. They calculate. Every step, every choice, every enemy. You ain't done. You ain't finished. You're waiting. And the world, they think they've seen your worst. But what they don't know is that your silence wasn't weakness. It was strategy, Dot. Oh, they kept count of your mistakes, didn't they? every little slip. Every time you fell, they pointed, laughed, whispered. And you blamed yourself. Thought maybe they were right. Maybe you were too quiet, too soft, too invisible to matter. But here's what they never saw, what they'll never admit. It's easy to mock what they don't understand. They couldn't wrap their heads around you because you didn't play their game. You didn't need to be seen. You didn't beg for validation. And that scared the hell out of them. You see, people fear what they can't control. And someone who watches without reacting, someone who stays still while others break character and show their fakeness, that's someone you don't want as an enemy. But they made you one anyway. And now it's your move. You ever seen a snake strike? It don't dance. It don't talk. It waits. It blends in with the dirt, lets the world pass by, and then, boom, one hit, and it's over. That's what your silence is. It's not cowardice. It's patience. It's control. And you've got more of it than anyone around you. They run from discomfort. You sit in it like it's home. They need noise to feel alive. You've made peace with the dark. And that's where your power grows. In those nights when your chest was heavy and your eyes wouldn't shut, that's when your mind was shapen into something deadly. When they left you on scene. When they made you feel like an afterthought. When they threw your loyalty back in your face. Every one of those moments planted a seed. And now it's growing into something they can't outrun. But listen real close, 'cause I ain't here to make you feel better. I'm here to wake you the hell up. You don't owe them anything. Not your time, not your love, not your explanations. You don't have to prove yourself to people who were blind on purpose. You don't gotta fix what they broke. They made the choice to lose you. You just made the choice to stay silent. And trust me, your silence will haunt them longer than your words ever could. That's the trick. You want to hurt someone who hurt you? You don't scream. You disappear. You become everything they said you couldn't. You rise without making a sound. You succeed so violently that it echoes in every room they enter. That's how the quiet ones fight. With results, with focus, with a coldness that doesn't need to shout to be felt. Let them laugh now. Let them doubt. Let them think they figured you out. 'Cause the minute you start explaining yourself to people who were committed to misunderstanding you, that's the minute you start losing. You're not here to explain. You're here to evolve. And if they couldn't see your worth when you were down, they don't deserve to be near you when you rise. Let that pain sharpen you. Let it turn into fuel. Every betrayal, that's your fire now. Every "you'll never make it," that's your oxygen. You don't need their permission. You don't need their cheers. You've got your silence, your suffering, your story. And that's more powerful than any applause. And don't think they're not watching. They are. They check your page. They ask around. They pretend you don't exist. but they feel you every time your name comes up. They're scared, but they'll never admit it, 'cause deep down, they know they fumbled something dangerous, something rare, something that was never loud, never needy, but always calculating. You want to know why they keep picking the loud ones? Why the world hands the spotlight to the screamers, the clowns, the fakes? It's 'cause noise distracts. It blinds people from truth. And truth, it's ugly. It's raw. It don't come dressed in pretty words and fake grins. It comes wrapped in silence, wrapped in eyes that seen too much and mouths that got tired of explaining. And that's you, ain't it? You stopped talking, not 'cause you had nothing to say, but 'cause no one ever listened. They weren't ready to hear truth from someone like you. Someone who didn't need to flash it. Someone who just lived it, and it made them uncomfortable, so they laughed. They ignored you. They buried you in silence. But what they forgot is that silence isn't a coffin. It's a womb. And now you're being reborn, and they ain't ready for what's coming. Let me break it down for you. Real slow, real cold. You see, the world don't reward the kind-hearted. It rewards the calculated. People don't care how much you've been through. They only start paying attention when you make them feel small. That's when the tables turn. That's when they start stuttering around you, second-guessing their words, watching their tone. And that power, that ain't handed to you. You earn it in silence. You build it, brick by brick, in the dark. You don't tell them what you're gonna do. You show up one day and do it. No warning, no mercy. You turn your pain into purpose, so sharp it cuts anyone who ever doubted you. You walk into rooms where they used to ignore you, and now they can't breathe when you pass. That's what silence builds. Not pity, not weakness, but presence. They thought you were gonna fold, didn't they? They thought after everything, you'd be another sad story, another quiet soul who disappears. But you didn't fold. You held it all in, didn't you? The heartbreak, the betrayal, the nights you couldn't sleep 'cause your chest was screaming and no one gave a damn. You carried it. And now it's time to use it. You don't need to forgive anyone to move on. You don't need closure. You need hunger. You need focus. You need to remember that silence is the sharpest blade in a world full of noise. And baby, you've been sharpening for years. So stop waiting for someone to say you're enough. Be enough in silence. Let them choke on the success they swore you'd never taste. You ever wonder why the ones who scream the loudest are the first to fall? 'Cause they burn out. They flash bright, then disappear. But the quiet ones, they outlast everybody. They don't need attention. They don't beg for followers. They grind in shadows. They build in silence. And one day, they own everything the loud ones died chasing. It ain't about speed. It's about strategy. You ain't here to impress. You're here to dominate. Quietly, consistently. Like a shadow creeping up the wall, unnoticed. until it's too late. That's who you are. That's what they never saw coming. And by the time they realize it, you'll be too far gone, not looking back, not waiting for them to catch up. So let the world keep talking. Let them throw dirt. Let them sleep on you. 'Cause what they don't know is that while they were busy counting you out, you were counting every second, every move, every knife they threw. And soon, real soon, you're gonna remind them all that the quiet ones, they don't forget, they don't forgive, they calculate. You know what the real joke is? It's not the masks people wear, it's how comfortable they get wearing them. They laugh with you, cry with you, pretend like they care, but deep down, they just study you, looking for your weakness, waiting for the perfect moment to use what you told them against you. And you made the mistake of thinking loyalty meant safety. You thought silence was respect. You kept their secrets, held their pain, picked up the pieces they dropped when the world broke them, and still they turned on you, like you were just another option. But that's the thing about quiet people. We don't forget betrayal. We become it. You cut a loud man and he screams. You cut a silent one and he waits. He watches the wound bleed, watches it scar. And then one day, without a sound, he returns the favor. The most dangerous people you'll ever meet ain't the loudmouths in the spotlight. It's the ones who sit in the back, taking notes. People like you. You listen more than you speak. You feel more than you show. And when people think that makes you weak, let them. Let them underestimate the storm just 'cause it didn't thunder yet. Let them laugh at your silence. Because one day, that same silence is gonna cripple them. They'll hear it in every room they walk into, in every conversation they fake, in every success you build without them. They'll remember how quiet you were, and it'll echo louder than any scream they ever threw at you. That's your revenge. Not fire, not chaos, just results. Cold, heavy, and undeniable. You ever seen a man snap without making a sound? That's real power. That's not madness. That's clarity. When the noise of the world finally dies down and all you got left is your own voice, that's when you realize you don't need anyone to believe in you. You just need one thing: purpose. Something to anchor all that pain to. You think I became what I am 'cause I lost it? Nah, I found it. In the silence. In the nights nobody showed up. In the rooms where no one clapped. In the battles where I bled alone. And you've had your share, haven't you? Sat on that edge more times than you can count. Told yourself maybe tomorrow it'll make sense. Maybe next time they'll understand. But they didn't. And they won't. 'Cause they were never meant to. That pain inside you, it ain't a curse. It's a compass. It's leading you to a version of yourself that doesn't ask, doesn't beg, doesn't wait for validation. You don't need to scream your worth to be heard. You just need to move. Strategically, brutally, quietly. Every step you take now has to be soaked in that rage they caused, that heartbreak they mocked, that loyalty they spat on. Because the next time they see you, it ain't gonna be the version they dismissed. It's gonna be the one they created, the one they laughed at until the laughing stopped, the one that walks into the room and doesn't have to say a damn thing because the silence alone terrifies them. You ain't lost, kid. You're just waiting for the moment they least expect. And when it comes, don't flinch. Don't hold back. Let that silence do what your words never could. Destroy every lie they built about you. You ever notice how they only respect you once they can't reach you no more? Funny, isn't it? When you were available, when you gave them your energy, your time, your heart, they took it for granted. Didn't even blink. Left you on read. Canceled plans like you didn't matter. Talked to you when it was convenient, not consistent. But the second you started falling back, the second you stopped explaining yourself, stopped showing up, stopped caring, they felt it. That silence hit harder than any argument ever could. That absence, it started speaking volumes. That's the art of the quiet ones. We don't fight for a seat at tables where they don't feed us. We build our own damn table. And suddenly, the people who couldn't be bothered are peeking through the window, wondering how the hell we made it without them. You gave them gold, and they treated it like dust. Now they're starving for the same attention they used to mock. But you finally understood that not everyone deserves access. Not everyone should hear your voice. Not everyone should feel your loyalty. You had to learn it the hard way, that love without boundaries becomes a prison. You kept trying to fix people who were comfortable being broken, trying to prove your worth to people who already made up their minds about you. That was your mistake. You gave too much. You explained too much. You stayed too long. And for what? So they could clap for someone else while you stood in the shadows? No more? You ain't doing that again. Not this version of you. The version that's watching, calculating, changing, evolving in ways that scare the hell out of the people who thought you'd never rise. You see, the world don't reward loyalty. It punishes it. They only love you when they can use you. But the moment you stop playing the fool, the moment you start choosing yourself, they call you selfish, cold, distant. Let them say whatever they need to sleep at night, because they'll never admit the truth. They'll never say, I lost someone real. They'll never say, I fumbled a silent storm, but that's okay. You don't need an apology to move on. You don't need closure. Your silence is the closure. You disappearing from their world, that's the consequence. No more comebacks. No more explanations. You're not here to convince anybody of your value anymore. You're here to live it. Loud in your results, quiet in your process, deadly in your focus. And don't let them back in just 'cause they noticed your growth. 'Cause trust me, they ain't back 'cause they're sorry. They're back 'cause they're hungry. Hungry for the energy you used to give away for free. But now it costs. It costs loyalty. It costs effort. It costs consistency. You ain't easy access anymore. You ain't that naive, soft-hearted version of yourself anymore. You're a lesson now, a warning, a reminder that not everyone who loses you gets another shot. And the pain they feel, that's the silence returning to collect its debt. So keep moving in silence, keep building, keep sharpening that focus until it cuts through the noise. Let them talk, let them wonder, let them regret. You ain't here for attention, you're here for impact. And baby, nothing hits harder than a ghost who came back. Not to explain, not to beg, but to win. You want to know what separates you from the rest? It ain't your pain. Everybody hurts. It ain't your losses. Everyone's lost someone. It's the way you carry it. Quiet, heavy, alone. While they scream and crumble and play victim, you hold the storm inside your chest like it's fuel. You don't broadcast your breakdowns. You don't ask the world to understand. You just keep going. Day after day, failure after failure, betrayal after betrayal. You kept moving forward when it didn't even make sense to. And that's strength they'll never teach you in schools. That's resilience you can't fake. While they post about healing, you've been surviving in silence. While they chase sympathy, you've been sharpening your mind like a blade. So don't you dare compare yourself to them. Their noise, your strategy, they chase likes. You chase purpose. They want comfort. You want revenge, not petty, emotional revenge. No, the kind that tastes like discipline. The kind that makes them question how you went from nothing to untouchable. Let me tell you something real. Realer than anything your friends or family ever told you. Life don't reward good intentions. It rewards execution. You could be the nicest, most loyal, most humble person on earth, and still get played, overlooked, and left behind. Why? 'Cause kindness without boundaries becomes weakness. Silence without calculation becomes invisibility. But that ain't you anymore. Not now. Now you know better. Now you've learned how to play the long game. Now you understand that the world doesn't need to hear your pain. It needs to feel your presence. You're not here to beg for a seat at their table. You're here to flip the table and build your own. And every time they said, "You've changed," that's the point. You had to change. Because who you were wasn't built to survive what you went through, but who you're becoming. That version doesn't fold. That version doesn't flinch. That version doesn't chase. He chooses. They want to see you crack. They want to see the rage inside finally spill. They want to say, "See? I told you he wasn't stable." But what they don't get is your silence is your control. You've been boiling for years, and still you ain't exploded. You just got colder, smarter, more surgical with your moves. You don't let them see you sweat. You don't let them know your plans. You disappear when they expect you to react. You smile when they expect you to scream. That's how you win this game. Emotionless, calculated, ruthless with your energy. You ain't here to argue with people committed to misunderstanding you. You're not here to drag the dead weight of fake friendships and half-hearted love. You're here to evolve, and every time you go quiet, every time you vanish, every time you say less and observe more, you level up. Silently, lethally, like the monster they built with their own hands. So no more apologies, no more feeling bad for growing colder. That coldness, that's protection. That detachment, that's clarity. You finally see people for who they are, not who you hoped they'd be. And that hurts. I know. It's lonely. I know. But it's necessary. Because not everybody deserves a front row seat to your comeback. Some of them belong outside, hearing about you through whispers. That's how you return, not with noise, not with explanations, but with impact. Quiet, calculated, unstoppable. You ever wonder why they never checked on you when you went quiet? Why nobody asked if you were okay when you disappeared? I'll tell you why. Because they were never there for you. They were there for what you gave. Your light, your patience, your time. And the minute you stopped offering that on a silver platter, they vanished. They didn't miss you. They missed the version of you that was easy to use. And that, my friend, is your wake-up call. You weren't invisible. You were just no longer convenient. That's what silence reveals. When you stop talking, stop explaining, stop giving, people's true colors bleed through like cheap paint in the rain. So you sat there, didn't you? In the dark, alone. But that darkness, that's where the real work began. That's where you stopped being their servant and started becoming their shadow, watching, waiting, rebuilding piece by cold piece. It's wild, isn't it? How people think you're lost just because you're quiet. Like you need to be loud to be alive. But you were never lost. You were calculating. Calculating who to cut off, who to leave behind, who to keep in your circle. That's what they don't get. While they were posting their fake happiness online, you were learning how to be dangerous in silence. While they were busy trying to be liked, you were busy building a version of yourself that doesn't give a damn about opinions. They spent their time gossiping. You spent yours sharpening. And now you walk different, think different, move like a ghost. No traces, no announcements, just presence, just results. They don't know who you are anymore, and that's exactly the point. You killed that old version of you, the one who waited, the one who begged, the one who hoped. And from the ashes, Came someone they can't read, can't reach, and sure as hell can't stop. And I know, deep down, there's still that piece of you that wants to be understood. That little voice that whispers, maybe they didn't mean it. Maybe they'll change. Let me silence that for you. They won't. They saw your worth. They just didn't care. They used your silence like a shield to avoid accountability. And now they want back in? Nah. Let them feel the space you left behind. Let them sit in the silence they mocked. Don't water dead plants. Don't reignite dead bonds. You don't owe anybody a damn thing, especially not people who handed you pain when all you ever offered was loyalty. So keep your distance, not out of spite, but out of respect for the version of you that finally learned to choose peace over people. Your silence, it ain't weakness, it's evolution. You're not avoiding them. You're protecting yourself. You're no longer explaining storms to people who live in sunshine. You're no longer shrinking so others can shine. And that shift, that scares them. They feel your absence like a scream. They see your silence as a threat, and they should. Because silence is power when it's backed by transformation. You're not silent because you have nothing to say. You're silent because you've learned that words mean nothing without action. And when you finally act, the world won't see it coming. Because while they thought you were gone, you were just loading the clip. You know what's funny? They always say, you changed. But they never ask why. They don't look back at the nights they left you unread, the times they looked you in the eye and lied like it was nothing. They don't replay the moments you stood right there, arms wide open, heart exposed, and they turn their back on you. Nah, they skip all that. They act like your coldness just came out of nowhere, like you woke up one day and decided to stop caring. But that ain't the truth, is it? You didn't change because you wanted to. You changed because they gave you no damn choice. The loyalty you used to give out like candy, they spit on it. The patience you had, they snapped it like a twig. You warned them with your silence, gave them chances without saying a word, but they took that silence for surrender. What a mistake. Because now you walk with your head down, not out of shame, but to watch the ground shake beneath your steps. They liked you better when you were broken. Let's not lie about it. They liked you more when you were quiet for the wrong reasons, when you were unsure of yourself, when you second-guessed every word, every move, when you needed them. Because back then, you were easy to control, easy to keep in a box. But now you don't ask. You don't wait. You decide. And that makes people uncomfortable. You're not bitter. You're aware. You see the patterns. You see the fakeness. The ones who only call when they need. The ones who smile in your face and throw dirt on your name behind closed doors. The ones who pretend to care but can't stand your silence, 'cause it reminds them of how loud their guilt really is. And that awareness, that's deadly. That's the part they never expected, that the same quiet soul they abandoned would become the one they now fear the most. You ever seen a wolf walk alone? Calm, focused, not looking for approval, not begging to be fed, just moving with purpose. That's you now. You used to walk in crowds, thinking the noise meant love, thinking attention meant loyalty, but not anymore. Now you move alone, not because you don't have options, but because you finally got standards. Now you protect your energy like it's sacred. You don't share your soul with just anybody. You don't open your doors to people who knock just to see if they still got access. They ain't got access no more. You changed the locks. Hell, you burned the whole damn house down and built a new one from the ashes of your old self. One with no open doors. Just one entrance. And it's guarded by every scar you earned in silence. And don't let them gaslight you with, "You're being too cold," or "You used to care more." You still care. You just stopped breaking yourself to show it. You stopped bleeding for people who wouldn't even hand you a bandage. That's not cold. That's survival. That's what happens when you grow up in silence and learn that not everyone's applause is genuine. Some people clap because they're glad it's not them in the dirt. Some people check in just to measure your distance, not your worth. And you've learned that. You learned it in every empty room, every fake smile, every promise that tasted like poison when you swallowed it whole. So keep changing, keep evolving, keep quiet, because what they call cold is just the version of you that finally stopped tolerating disrespect. That silence they're so uncomfortable with, that's your healing, that's your strategy, that's your strength. You ever realize how they only remember you when you start glowing? When you were down bad? When your chest felt like it was holding 100 bricks? When your mind was screaming and no one noticed? You were invisible. But now that you're quiet and focused, now that your eyes got that cold, unreadable fire, they suddenly remember your name. You've been on my mind. I've been meaning to reach out. Nah, they ain't checking on you. They're checking your temperature. They want to see how far you've gone without them. How much light you built in the dark. You were supposed to stay broken, remember? You were supposed to fall apart and stay on your knees, begging for their time, their attention, their approval. But you flipped the script. You let your silence speak louder than every cry they ignored. And now they feel it. Even if they never say it out loud, they feel what they lost, and it haunts them. You gotta understand, your silence, it's not just absence, it's punishment. And the ones who took you for granted, they're the ones feeling that sentence the most, because they can't post their way out of guilt. They can't DM their way back into your circle. They can't fake their way through real energy. And your energy now, it's different, heavier, sharper, filtered through every sleepless night, every backstab, every second you spent questioning yourself. You're not even looking for revenge anymore. You are the revenge. The success they never believed you'd touch. The peace they swore you'd never find. The quiet storm they thought was harmless, until it swallowed the whole damn room. See, here's what they never saw coming. You got comfortable being alone. You learned how to move in silence and still hit targets. You stopped explaining, stopped defending, stopped trying to fix broken bonds. You let people walk. You didn't chase, you didn't cry for closure. You watched. Watched who stayed gone. Watched who came back. Watched who panicked the minute you cut your energy off. And that power, that quiet confidence, it's priceless. Now, you sit in rooms and say less, but feel more. You read people before they even open their mouths. You don't trust smiles. You read intentions. And that makes you dangerous, because you ain't motivated by attention. You're fueled by clarity. And clarity, my friend, cuts through the bull like a blade. And I know, the silence gets heavy sometimes. I know there's nights you stare at the ceiling and wonder if it's worth it. Cutting people off, changing, staying cold. But let me remind you, the version of you that cared too much, that version got betrayed. That version got ignored. That version bent over backwards just to be seen, only to get stepped on. This version now, this one don't bend. This one don't flinch. This one walks into fire with eyes wide open and burns better than the flames. So yeah, it's worth it. Every second, every lonely night, every cold morning where the only voice you heard was your own, telling you to keep pushing. That's not emptiness. That's evolution. You're not alone. You're ascending. And they can't come with you. Let them talk. Let them twist your silence into whatever narrative makes them feel less guilty. At the end of the day, you don't need to clear your name. You don't need to prove you're the good one. The real always reveals itself. And the fake, it always folds. So while they run their mouths, you run your empire. While they post for clout, you build in silence. And when it's all said and done, the only sound they'll hear is your footsteps, coming for everything they said you couldn't have.